Welcome back, everybody. It's Dave Williamson, host of the Meet Dave podcast. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, put the little thumbs up thing, leave comments, all the stuff that helps us on YouTube and or wherever you listen to podcasts. Appreciate everyone who's come out to shows recently. I've also been doing a lot of cooking around LA. I do a show once a month at South Bay Customs. It's a very cool rock and roll venue in El Segundo, California. It's usually the second Tuesday, and I've been selling barbecue at that event. It's been so much fun. My son helps me. We try to mix the menu up every month. Thank you to everyone who came out to the Petroleum Club in Long Beach, where we did Labor Dave a couple weeks ago on Labor Day. I don't think I've thanked everyone for that yet, so just it was been on my mind. Sold a lot of barbecue that day as well, and just anyone else who's been over the house or come to eat some food and hang out. It's been so fun that it's been football season. We've had a reason to hang out and do that kind of stuff again. So I'm going to be on the road pretty soon here. Big couple of months ahead. Going to be in Boise. I'm going to be in Tracy, California, Northern California this upcoming week. I'm going to be in Vegas at the MGM in December. I'm going to be in Colorado. Just booked some Colorado dates outside Denver. So go to my website, davewilliamsoncomedy.com. Check it out. Come out and see me on the road and buy some of the rub when you're on the road. When I'm on the road, I sell these at the shows, or you can go to davewilliamson.com and buy them off the website. Very excited for today's episode. A guy that I enjoy hanging out with, that I admire, that I've been wanting to have on the podcast for a long time. We finally made it happen. He is a multi-time grand champion. He was the 2002 Memphis in May rib champion. He's got some amazing sauces and rubs out there that you can get off his website. Just one of the greatest dudes in barbecue. So excited to finally have him on. Please meet my buddy, Heath Riles. Well, I think this is definitely the earliest we've ever recorded a Meet Dave podcast, and I can't think of anyone worth getting up and getting into LA traffic for more than my buddy Heath Riles. I've been excited to have you on for a long time. You have a busy schedule. I have a busy schedule. We finally made it happen, and I'm excited to have you, bud.
Well, thank you for having me on, first off, Dave.
You got it. And then especially after we hung out in Key West, I was like, now we got some stories to tell. Now I got to get you on sometime soon. That was a blast, was it not?
I'm going to tell you, I can't speak for you, but I'm ready to leave today again, right now. And maybe it can be a little more relaxing this time, though. We did run and gun a whole lot.
Yeah.
But that was my first experience in the Keys, and I absolutely loved it. I loved it.
I've been to Key West a good bit over the past few years doing shows and stuff. And normally like I have a show at night, but that was my first time being in Key West and having an itinerary, like something I had to wake up at 6 a.m. for every single day. And that was definitely a different experience of being in Key West, having that sun beat down on you and drinking boat drinks all day, every day. And then also having responsibilities.
Yeah, that's kind of rough. I'm going to tell you, there was that one day we went out lobster diving. That was a full day of that lobster diving to wear a man out.
Yeah.
The way the current was. I don't know if it was like that on y'all's boat, but on our boat, the current was crazy when you got in the water.
Yeah, some of the spots were worse than others. And so I talked about it on this podcast, a previous episode, but just for people that didn't listen to that one, maybe, we were in an event called the Rub and Tug Invitational. First time they ever did it. Heath had a team. I had a team. There was 15 teams total. The first day was a fishing tournament. The second day was a lobster tournament. And then we went out to a sandbar and we cooked lobsters and fish and steak and all this cool stuff. One of the coolest parties I've ever been to. And then the third day was a more traditional yet laid back barbecue competition all around the pool with big green eggs. Did 4 different categories. Was a blast. But yeah, the lobster time. So I actually grew up lobster diving in South Florida and in the Bahamas, and I brought my 13-year-old with me as a ringer because I had a feeling there weren't a lot of people involved in the tournament that knew how to lobster dive. So I was like, my son, I wanted to bring him with us. We were supposed to go to the Bahamas the week before. That got canceled, so I felt so bad. My son was excited about it. I was like, come with me. I'm like, he's going to be a good barbecue helper ringer because he helps me with around the smoker at home all the time. He's going to be a good lobster diver ringer. And boy, was I glad I brought him, because nobody else knew how to do it. And if it was just me going up and down, I would have been more dead than I was. Thank goodness I had a 13-year-old with me that I could send up and down.
Oh, yeah. Well, when I went off the back of the boat the first time, snorkel on and all that, and went off back of the boat, when I come up, I was probably 40 yards from the boat. The water had took me that far away. And I was like, damn. And then the time I, swim back to the boat and then started diving down and try to do something, I ain't gonna lie, I was about out of breath the way the current was.
Yeah. And then, because we're who we are, we all have the nets, the tickle sticks, and a GoPro. We're all trying to use all of them. And one of the guys on my team is not the strongest swimmer, and he was like, he's such a good sport, he wanted to try it and do it and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, man, of course, yeah, let's do it all, let's have fun. And the first place we went to had the worst current, and I'm over there with my son trying to work the lobsters, and they threw this dude in the water he'd never snorkeled before. And it's hard. You got to take your time. You got to figure out how to do it so you don't get water in the top of the snorkel and everything. And not only that, but they gave him a net and a tickle stick. And so he's like trying to swim with all this gear, and he doesn't know how to use a snorkel, and the current's hitting him. And I'm like, bro, you might want to put all that stuff in the boat. This is not the way to learn how to swim. It's like having a kid come out to swim lessons and you just throw them a parachute in the water holding that net. That makes it even tougher.
I know. That's got to be, I don't know. That's a newfound respect for me, I can tell you. I mean, we had a lady with us. Her name was Jocelyn, and she's been doing it since she was a kid. She was awesome. She was very, very knowledgeable, and she helped us, and she was just, I don't know, we would have not been able to do as well as we done without her. I think we brought 8 or 9 lobsters back to the contest.
Yeah, you guys had a lot of keepers. We caught a ton of lobsters, but almost no keepers. And I didn't understand the point system. I thought we could just keep counting the shorts as long as we threw them back, just put them on that app. And so I was working my butt off all day catching these shorts. Well, I caught like 30 something shorts that day, just going up and down. And then I found out later that we were only allowed to count 6 of them towards the contest total. So now I know.
We had 13 or 14, I think, and the keepers, we had 8, I believe, 8 or 9.
Yeah, I was walking around in that sandbar, and everyone's telling me they caught like 12, 13, 14. Like everyone was right in that zone, or a lot less. And so I'm walking around like, oh, I'm the winner. And then I found out I only got credit for 6 shorts. Have you cooked spiny lobster before? Is that your first time cooking spiny lobsters?
That was my first time cooking spiny lobsters, and they are a lot different than cold water lobster for sure.
Yeah,
a lot more tougher chew. And what I thought had a tough chew to it, when the people that ate it before, they go, "No, this is tender. This is tender." I'm like, well, I would hate to eat one that was chewy then.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a lot of times people boil them. Sometimes you boil them, obviously being in the water helps soften them up a little bit. And then they're really easy to overcook too. So if yours were cooked on the money, like you said, the people said they were great, then imagine if you overcook them. They get real tough real fast. And then you gotta put a ton of butter on them too, obviously, which I'm sure everyone did. But yeah, they can be delicious for sure, but definitely different than Maine lobster. So Heath, you're in Mississippi, and is that where you started? Have you always lived there?
I have always lived here. So where I'm at now, I'm in Olive Branch, Mississippi, is about 45 minutes from where I graduated, grew up at, all that, in a small town of Ashland, Mississippi. Still don't even have a red light to this day.
Wow.
Just a stop sign. And so I moved up here in 2007. I got a divorce in 2005, luckily. They say, living in your first house is, your first marriage is like living in your first house. You're not going to live in it long. You're going to get something nicer, better.
I never heard that. Well, Luis, my producer just got engaged this week, so this is good for him to hear.
Is this his first time?
Oh, yeah.
First time?
Yeah, it is.
Well, see, it's kind of that teeter-totter. It depends on the age now. If you're if you're in your younger 20s and you get married, you can count this like your first house.
Oh,
the statistics are not very high. If
Yeah,
you're in your 30s though and established and career established and found a good woman, then you might make it. But other than that, no, you better keep window shopping.
you're 30, right?
30. So I barely made the cut, I guess.
There you go. He's like an old
Barely
man.
made the cut. You should after you get about 28 to 30, I think you've kind of found your way in life. Most people have. And I still have some friends that are 40 something and still trying to figure it out. But.
There you go. Life advice from Heath Riles.
That's it.
Well,
and so growing up, small town, and got a divorce, moved here to Olive Branch, and kind of got started in barbecue. And I started the team Boards Not Out when I first got started, actually.
oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it just got to be where too many people's opinions and everything else. So I said, I'm going to let y'all have it, and I'm rolling on. And so went and teamed up with another buddy of mine, and that didn't work out so well. He had his own idea of how the money should go. So we let them play that card, and I changed my name to Heath Riles BBQ, and kind of took the advice from Sweet Baby Ray and Famous Dave, and I don't know. They said it would be a good career move for me, and boy, has it been. I'm not going to lie to you. We changed our name, and I took a hell of a chance and put everything on an American Express credit card, $28,000. Took a stab at it, and it's worked out so far. So,
yeah, and you've won a lot of trophies under Heath Riles BBQ.
Yeah, we've been fortunate enough. We've won over 75 grand championships. Won a lot of money through the years. Of course, that's all just funded us to keep going, where we at today. But it's definitely been a long ride, but worth it. And now, honestly, everything that we've done before has kind of been easy compared to now, when you really have to start filming these videos every week. And we film a lot of podcasts, as you know, just like you. And, when you're worrying about the inventory and who's got to get paid, who's got to get paid what, contracts, as you heard me say a while ago before the show started. There's a lot of stress on a different side of the business that a lot of people don't see.
Yep. And so your podcast now, just to give it a plug, to use that as a segue, is Shootin the Que, which you co-host basically with your upgraded current wife, Candace.
That is correct.
Which she is awesome, by the way. So I'm thinking all this advice is great advice. Candace is a lot of fun, and she was right there with you at the rub and tug, out fishing and diving and cooking. And she's co-host your podcast and just a great person.
She is. She's got a really good dry sense of humor, and it works out really well between the both of us.
So then I guess the crown jewel, or something that's very notable to bring up of all those championships and trophies and everything, was 2002 Memphis in May. You got the big rib trophy, correct?
Yep, 2022 we won the World Rib Championship at Memphis in May, and we've been down there before. I've been very fortunate to have walked the stage with shoulder calls and whole hog calls and other rib calls, but to win first place rib was really good. And then to follow it up this year, we were 0.23 away from a perfect score and 0.14 away from making finals again.
Wow.
And we finished ninth place. That's how close the ribs were this year. So less than a quarter point away from being perfect, and 0.14 from being in finals was really, really, and you were there this year. You had the ribs.
Yeah.
You were in our booth. We had a good product. It's just we weren't on the right table. I mean, it's just as simple as that.
So do you think it's always down to that close of a margin, or do you think that was especially close this year?
No, I mean, it's close like that a lot of years in some categories. It just goes to show you that everybody's bringing their A game. Everybody's really stepped it up. And, depending on what judges are sitting at a table, it's all so subjective then. So you've got 6 judges at a table, and you may have 5 that pick you and 1 that gives you a 9.97 instead of a 10, and maybe 1 give you a 9.9, right? And then you get the next table, that table carried all 10s. Well, that might have knocked me down to 8th or 9th place right there just by getting a almost perfect score, but not perfect.
And You mentioned like the wrong table, whatever. Explain to people what that means. So like you can have a good product. Like I tasted your rib. You're absolutely right. It was amazing. So you could have something you're really proud of, but what goes into what's the luck part of it? What else goes into really coming out on top?
So at a barbecue contest, depending on the amount of teams, they have 6 judges per table. And so let's just say that you have 24 entries is a good round number to start at. And that would give you 4 tables, right? 6 entries per table. So you take that on at 48, and sometimes it may be only 5 entries on a table. And so each judge is going to score that rib, separately, not talking to each other or anything else. And then when they add them up, all together, the total score of that table would go against the total score off the other tables, and they would get ranked 1 through ever how many tables it is, 4 to 8 to 10. And somewhere like Memphis in May, you've got 12 to 14 tables. So, and there's not but 3 top spots. So you can see how you can even win your table and not make the final table because the scores are so close off of each table.
And then something I learned just from going, I've been twice now, was that then once you're in, is it the top 3? Then the judges come around and they visit your tent, and it's almost like a presentation, right?
That's right. And so at Memphis in May, you turn in a blind box, and then one judge will come to your booth after you turn in a blind box for 15 minutes. They leave. 3 minutes later, another judge comes, stays 15 minutes. Then another judge comes. And then those scores get added up with the blind scores that you turned in to see who makes the top 3. And then the top 3 teams then gets visited by 4 judges that will visit the top 3 rib teams, the top 3 hog teams, and the top 3 shoulder teams. They will then score those 9 entries independently, and the top score will come out to be your winner.
So now when you do ribs at something as big as Memphis in May, very different than when we were at the Rub and Tug. The Rub and Tug's pretty laid back and for charity. And we're cooking what I think they gave us 2 racks of ribs. How many racks of ribs are you cooking to find the perfect couple of bites to turn in?
Usually it's somewhere between 18 and 24. And I think this year we cooked 21 racks, if I'm not mistaken, because it had been 21 years since a rib had won Memphis in May. So I had chose to cook 21 racks. And I'm not the one that won it, but one of my really good friends did win it with a rib this year and break that curse, which was pretty awesome to see that.
Nice. Yeah, because so for people that don't know, when you go, you might compete in multiple categories, but you're designated as a more or less whatever your main category is. So if you're a rib, what you were saying, a rib guy, you're in the rib section, and that's what you're mainly competing for. But you might enter some ancillaries and stuff like that. You can only cook one?
It's not like this. Yeah, Memphis in May, you can only cook one main category. You have to choose hog, shoulder, or rib.
Oh, okay.
And so
one of the mains, but you could cook the ancillary stuff and the exotic and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Got you. Okay. See, I'm learning stuff.
Yeah.
So then tell me a little bit about the process too, when you're at something like that. So let's just say the rub and tug, or even just cooking for your friends in the backyard or something like that, versus your process for cooking ribs versus your process for Memphis in May, where you may do like several layers of rub and several different, process, a more in-depth process.
Well, Memphis in May is about a lot of showmanship and all that too. So we bring out the big cookers, the big trailers. So this stuff starts weeks in advance. You get to load in Memphis in May a week before it starts. And you get 7 days to build your booth, and get tents up and get situated before they even open the park to the public. And once it's open to the public, you can drive a vehicle in at certain times in the morning to drop supplies off and stuff like that. But they have beer on site and all that kind of stuff, and you more or less build your own bar in your booth if that's what you want, and, your own grilling area and all that. And it's basically just a field party for a week, for 4 days, and then the contest is on the last day. And so it's a really neat concept. It costs a lot of money, but it's good to see all your friends and teams you don't see but once, twice a year, and the camaraderie and just talking to the people you don't see but once a year. I'm sure you know how that is. And
yeah, for sure.
And meeting people and meeting fans and all that. It's a lot different than cooking at home, just grabbing ribs out of the fridge. And, sometimes at home we're lazy enough, we don't even peel the membrane on the back. We just season them and throw them on. We're watching the game and we're going on. At Memphis, it's not like that. We're taking each slab of ribs and trimming them down with scissors and knives. And there's not a flaw or a piece of meat hanging off of it whatsoever. All of our sauces are as fresh as they can be. Our rub is made as fresh as it can be. And you were right, we're layering our rubs and processes. We have steps. We have a certain time we light the fire. I mean, I have a whole spreadsheet of stuff that we do at certain times. And we work as a very good team. A lot of people that cook with me, they have their own teams and other things. But at Memphis in May, they come cook with me because they want to be a part of it. And so just being a small part, I don't know, I'm one of these types of people. I like sharing the love. I want everybody to feel that success out of it. Even though it's my name on the bottle, I feel like when it comes to a cooking team that the more people you have to pitch in, it seems like, especially with your friends, you just have such a better time.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, and it sounds cheesy, but that's what barbecue's about, is the camaraderie, the friendships, the community, It's about doing it with other people. Just cooking by yourself all the time would be, I think, would get old for sure. You want someone to share in those highs and lows with, Yeah, well, I got to tell you, I have a confession. You specifically kind of inspired my direction on Rub and Tug, because I was like, man, I used you as the example. I was talking to my team, I was talking to Jody and Roy and my son Owen, and I was like, we can't come in here and just go head to head with the Heath Riles of the world with traditional ribs and stuff like that. There's no way my traditional ribs are going to go up against his traditional ribs, right? So we got super creative and we got a little nutty with all of our recipes and tried to be really creative, just even not embarrass myself with being there among so many of my barbecue heroes and people I admire. And we did good. We came in second place in a couple of the categories. And I knew that there was no way that was going to happen if I was putting just my traditional ribs. So we did peanut butter and jelly ribs. That's how we stood out. We got a little kooky with it.
That is a lot different. I did not try one of those ribs. That's a lot.
I'm telling you, Heath, people were watching us cook them. Me and Jody have made these together for a video before, so I knew they were good. And people were watching us cook them, and then I told the whole team to come turn the box in with me since it was the last box. And when we got back to the booth, the people that were just hanging out at the festival had started chopping up our extra ribs and eating them. And I'm like, dude, those are my samples that I got to give out for People's Choice. These savages just rolled through them, man. And I guess that means they were good.
Wow. But, so you got to tell me, how was the process on peanut butter and jelly ribs?
So, it's essentially like cooking regular ribs, but you have your drip tray underneath the ribs. And when you're making a little bit of a sauce under there, you add half a jar of peanut butter and half a jar of grape jelly, and you let it marinate in, and then you baste that back onto the ribs. And then after you get the nice peanut butter and jelly sauced ribs going, you take some peanut butters and you crush it up, and you sprinkle a little peanut butter on top for aesthetic. And when you bite into it, you taste the peanut butter right away. And what's kind of cool is it's about 6 or 7 seconds later, the grape jelly hits you. And I don't know, it just works. It just works with the taste of the pork. And it's pretty good. We've done it a couple times now, and it's good every time. But I don't think I could roll into Memphis in May and turn in a box of peanut butter and jelly ribs. I'm not sure they would know what to do with that.
No, I don't think that would work out too well in Memphis. For sure.
So now you've blown up with the rubs and the sauces and the injections and the products. People know that they know your name. You've done a lot of winning. You've gotten a lot of respect in the barbecue world. And, I know a lot of my friends who don't even know a lot about barbecue. I'll see them posting, and I see the Heath Riles bag over there with the injections and stuff. So has that taken you, while that's all a blessing, has that taken you away from being able to go to the competitions and stuff like that, the business side of it?
Yes, it has. I don't get to cook competitively like I used to. Nowhere near as much. I do Memphis in May every year now, and I like to try to do Murfreesboro, Illinois every year. Real iconic contest, but this year I can't do it. We're going to be at the Ace Hardware Trade Show. So as time goes on, a lot of trade shows kind of take precedent of some of the contests and just different events that we have to go to now and not cook that we're a part of. And we're going to the Jack Daniels this year. We're not cooking it. We hadn't cooked enough to qualify, but we're going to kind of just see our fans and walk around and do some interviews with some teams and get some footage. And it'll be a good time networking with everybody, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so cool now that, barbecue guys, like you and so many other guys I've become friends with, you're legit celebrities, not just in these circles, but like so many of the backyard barbecuers are watching YouTube now and are exposed to people who are accomplished pit masters. So is that wild to you sometimes if you get stopped to take a picture and stuff like that?
It's very wild. I tell people, man, I'm nobody special. I still wear Hanes and Levi's. I'm just, it is kind of strange when you're trying to cook and sometimes people coming in your booth and wanting pictures and whatnot. It's cool at times, but it is kind of a little bit, I don't know, still weird. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
And I guess I could ask you the same thing. I'm sure traveling with comedy, do you feel like it's weird on your end?
Yeah, for me, it's a big part of my job is becoming well known, So it's validating if someone recognizes me in the airport or something. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm doing something right at my job. The funniest one was I was at the Dolphins game with my family yesterday, and this woman wanted to come take a photo with me just because she liked I had a matching Dolphins outfit, shorts and shirt and everything. And so this lady, the outfit was a hit. It was an outfit my mom bought me a couple months back, and it's just been sitting in my closet. And I go, I'm wearing this to the game. And so this lady has to take a picture with me, and my kids were just like, oh man, don't feed his ego. And then the rest of the day I was pretending like she recognized me from comedy, and they were like, she just liked your dumb shirt. But yeah, I love it. It doesn't bother me one bit. So who are some of the guys that you started out with before all that craziness started happening?
I started cooking in actually 1997, right out of high school. And I guess I moved to Olive Branch. I was up here about 99, 2000, 2001, I guess. And that's when I really met Malcolm with How to Barbecue Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember him cooking in the backyard division when we were cooking pro. We never went to the backyard division, but he went to Memphis and actually won the backyard division. Him and his brother Waylon did, and God, it was in the 90s. Something like, I think that's right. May have been in the 2000s, but all those years kind of get blurry now that we've gotten a lot older. But Malcolm, I've known Mark Lambert for years. He was one of the first ones I met up here. It's a lot of iconic barbecue figures, but some of the Pat Burke and Mike Mills are probably two most well-known. John David Wheeler, who a lot of people don't know, he's partners with Melissa Cooks in Memphis Barbecue Company, and he's had a really unique career. He's won Memphis in May twice, once in whole hog, once in rib, and almost went rib another year. And he's taught and had team spinoffs. I'm going to say it's probably been 40 teams that spin off of him through the years off the Natural Born Grillers. But those are just a few of the names that coming up has inspired me, through the years.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot like comedy, actually, in the way that, you kind of have these guys you started with or you knew earlier in the earlier days. And then as you get busier and busier, you probably cross paths a little bit less, but they're always kind of part of your story, your journey. You guys can relate to each other better than anyone else can because you've gone through a lot of the same stuff. And then with comedy, it's like I get so excited when something great happens for one of my friends. Like we celebrate each other and we all want to lift each other up. But there's always also just a little bit of competitiveness and jealousy. So it also fuels me like that. I'm like, all right, well, he got on that TV show. I'm going to try to get on that TV show, you know? So it's like it's great to have people in your life that, one, support you, and two, at the same time, inspire you to keep bringing your A game.
I agree with that 100%. 100%. I think a lot of people inspire me, and I do a lot of reading as well. And so,
me too.
Just looking at iconic brands, in the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're sitting here trying to build a business, and I'm one of these guys that also watches like the food that built America, the cars that built America, mega corporations, you know. And I loved hearing stories of how like UPS and FedEx and, you know, just everybody got started in business. And I try to take a lot of that and apply to my days now, and let it look at other people to inspire me, but I also let the haters motivate me. And so all the trolls on the internet that has something to say and all the stuff like that, I just laugh. I mean, because it comes to a point to where you can either let that beat you down or let it bring you up. And I let it fuel me to bring me up even more. I know that's a weird thing to say, but that's just what I believe.
No, I think it makes total sense. Speaking of the rub and tugs, Jody posted a video on Instagram of us cooking on the sandbar with the big green egg, and the water had come up a little bit by then, you know? So it does look a little bit less like we're on an island and a little more like we're just in the middle of the ocean. And it got in the algorithms and got out there, and I think it's up to 1 million hits right now. But that means that it's gotten into the trolls viewpoint as well. And we have gotten some of the most hilarious comments on that thing. So many people are just hating on this. And I'm like, what is there to possibly hate about this? It's just like, it's one of the coolest things ever. It's a 10-second clip, and just everyone's like, you're destroying the ocean. And I bet one guy got so mad, and it was because we probably left trash out there. I'm like, if you're getting that upset over something that probably happened in your mind, people you don't know at all, like, life's going to be hard for you, man.
He must have not seen all the garbage cans and garbage bags and boats that we had and everything like that. It was as clean as when we got there, when we left.
And you could try to tell them nice once. You're like, oh, we left it better than we found it, you know? And they're like, yeah, right. And it's like, well, you just want to be mad no matter what. But so as your internet presence has grown and your social media presence, have you dealt with those kinds of trolls, the unreasonable? And I think I haven't watched it, but I think I saw, don't you post videos about reading comments from trolls or something like that?
We do. We have a little fun with it now. You know, we got inspired by, you know, talking about inspiration. We got inspired by Matt Pittman. He started posting his mean tweets, kind of like Jimmy Fallon does, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so my wife was like, well, we need to do something like that. So let's pull some of these comments off in the social media team. And so we did. And, you know, some of the ones we have to bleep out because some of these people, I just don't get it. They have the audacity to say some of the things they say. And you would never say that to somebody in person.
Yeah, you'd get punched in the face.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. I really don't. But, and one of the biggest ones is to say you're doing something your way. You know, it's not maybe the traditional way, and it's not maybe the non-traditional way. I'm just doing it my way, how I like it. And, man, if you really want to get something stirred up, go make a Philly cheesesteak on the internet. This is my good one of the day. Go make a Philadelphia cheesesteak and post it your way. And it's going to be, no matter how you do it, you've done it wrong in somebody's eyes in Philadelphia, I promise.
That's where people really strike a nerve, huh? I'm going to do that for sure this week now. I'm going to go make Dave's Philly cheesesteak, and I'm going to do everything wrong on purpose. I'm going to be like, make sure you really
put peppers and mushrooms on it, because if you do that, they're going to hate you.
Oh, they got pissed.
Make
what
it
else?
Out of some other steak. Make it out of something else besides ribeye. Go get a basic bun at the store, and don't get you a good bakery roll. Use something besides provolone cheese. I mean, it can get just completely wild.
Oh, man.
Completely wild.
I can't wait for this. I'm gonna title it the best Philly cheesesteak in the world, most authentic Philly cheesesteak in the world. I'm gonna do all those things you just said. I'm just gonna watch people's heads explode. Take that, Philly.
And go look at my TikTok and just, I think it's pinned at the top now, and just read the comments of these people. I mean, I use American cheese, you know what I mean? And I thought I was buying good cheese head, boar's head cheese, you know what I mean? American cheese. And I melted it down and made like a cheese whiz with some milk, just kept it simple, a little bit of seasoning in it. You'd have thought I'd have shot somebody's son right beside him. It was that bad.
Yeah, no, I love it when people just like assume stuff too, because they're proud of themselves for knowing something. Or they're like, hey, you got to let that steak rest. That's why all the juices are on the board. You got to let the steak rest. And I'm like, yeah, I know that you got to let meat rest, buddy. I let this one rest just fine. And the juices is just because it's a good steak. And also that sauce, that's not even juice. All right. Like, relax.
And that's the way some people are. Those keyboard cowboys or something else, or keyboard cooks is what I like to say.
So how often are you guys doing the podcast? Is that a weekly?
We drop a weekly podcast, and we'd like to generally stay one ahead, sometimes two. It depends on when we record and where we record at. When we travel some, we've started to try to record some with people we don't normally see in studio. I don't mind doing, via the internet like what we're doing here, but I love having guests stop in the studio just so we can crack open a cold beer or pour a bourbon drink off the bourbon I got here in the office. And, it just seems like when you sit down with somebody like that, it's you're just shooting it, and I don't know, we had a saying back in the country, shooting the shit, right? And so that's kind of where the whole Shootin the Que thing come from, is let's just sit down and just talk about whatever comes up. We're just talking about cooking and whatever. It don't matter.
Yeah, 100%. I'm coming through in November. I'm doing a corporate gig on a Sunday in Memphis. And then I got to be over on the East Coast, I think, by Wednesday. So I got like Monday. I have a day and a half to kill. So I might have to stick around and come podcast with you and go see Malcolm as well while I'm down there. So I'll shoot.
Man, yeah.
I'll shoot you those dates.
Definitely do that.
Yeah, I'll shoot you those dates.
The dates and let's get it down, Dave, and let's do something. We'll cook something and stuff too.
Yeah, I would love that, man. Well, let's before I let you go, let's teach the listeners something. Is there a favorite video you've done, or something that you think you do a little bit different from everyone else, or some sort of nugget of knowledge or a recipe or anything that you can give the listeners some value?
You need to cook enough in order to know how meat feels without using a thermometer.
Yeah.
And so if you can't do that, that's one piece of advice. You hadn't cooked enough. And that's the one thing that you can't be taught is feel of meat. And so you need to cook enough to know, and I use a slab of ribs as a perfect indication. Just get a toothpick and learn the feel, what you're looking for with a toothpick, to know when your meat is done. And that's whether your steak, that's your slab of ribs, that's your Boston butt, that's whatever. A toothpick, learn your feel. And that's something that's taught over time. That's nothing nobody can teach you right out of the gate.
Practice.
Practice.
Yeah, it's funny. People ask me like how I learned, and I was like, well, just watching, because I while I enjoyed cooking a steak my whole life, I didn't really get into the nitty gritty of this stuff until maybe about 6 years ago, and got really obsessed with it. And it was literally watching YouTube videos and reading books. But the most important thing is I just cooked a lot. I got so obsessed with it. I was literally firing up the smoker almost every day I was home. And my wife's like, you're cooking so much meat. And I was just giving it away to the neighbors because my family didn't want to eat ribs that many days in a row. And I'm like, I need to practice, and it's funny how that just like kind of happens by accident, where I just found I would take notes. I had I called it a meat journal. So I would write down every time, like how long I cooked it for and whether it was overcooked and, what I could maybe do different. So then you remember. But then it got to a point where I was like, hey, I didn't even put a probe in. Like I just kind of guessed, and you get a little better with that. I think that's sound advice.
That's right. Practice till it makes perfect.
There you go. So You have anything to plug coming up, or at the very least, where can people get your products and try some of the Heath Riles rubs and things like that?
If anybody's going to be around next weekend or this weekend coming up, Chad Ward's having his grand opening at his store in Florida, Lakeland, Florida, the new Whiskey Bent Barbecue. And I know myself, along with Matt Pittman, Cosmo, Amanda Reagan. I don't know who else. I think maybe Benny's going to be there. And I don't know who else is going to be there, but that's going to be this weekend. Then we're leaving there and we're headed over to the Ace Hardware Trade Show. So if anybody's going to be at the Ace Hardware Trade Show, stop by our booth and come shout at us. We'd love to talk to you. But other than that, we'll be at the Jack Daniels in October. I think that's about it for just working and being in the office.
And the website?
Website and everything is HeathRilesBBQ.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, and YouTube at Heath Riles BBQ.
Yep. Subscribe to the YouTube guys. Check out their podcast. It's a lot of fun. Heath and his wife, Candace. And I'm sure I'll see you in November. I'm sure I'll see you a few times in between. But I will for sure be seeing you in Key West next August because we're going to do that all over again. But that was a lot of fun.
That'll work, buddy.
And next year, I will win the belly flop contest. I got robbed. Did I not, Heath?
I do think you got robbed on that one. You kind of come back and nailed it the second time. I'm going to be honest with you. You kind of got it.
Well, I didn't know there was going to be a second round. So I had the USA Speedo. I always have a Speedo with me everywhere I go. It's emergency Speedo. You got to have one in your bag, you know? So they go, there's going to be a belly flop contest. And I looked at my son, Owen, and I go, I'm going to go put my Speedo on. He's like, of course you are. So I run up, I throw the Bald Eagle USA Speedo on, I throw my shorts over it. And then I wait till the perfect time. And I'm like, all right, there's been a little bit of a lull in the belly flop contest. I go, now's the time. And I go up and I get everyone chanting USA and they don't know why they're cheering USA. And then I pull the pants off and I pull the shirt off and they're like, oh, it's the USA Speedo. And I do the belly flop. I nail it. I thought I'd won, right? But then they go, okay, top 3, you're going to go again. And I go, I would have saved the Speedo for the finals if I'd known that. I would have just done a really good belly flop and then saved the reveal. So now I got to one-up it. And there's only one way to one-up it, right, Heath?
And you sure one-upped it. I mean, pouring that W sauce all over you.
I sauced myself up with Worcestershire sauce and then jumped in the pool. And and then I got edged out. Someone else, they wanted, see, that's the equivalent of me showing up to like Memphis in May with peanut butter and jelly ribs. There could be really amazing ribs, but it's a lot of showmanship, you know, like that. I guess they were just looking for traditional sound belly flop. That was it. And the guy edged me out.
I was waiting on you to call for a fluffer myself.
Well, now I know who to call if I need one, bud. I appreciate you. This is a new level of our friendship. That's killer, man.
I wasn't talking about me. I was waiting on you to call for one.
Oh, sure.
Not me.
And no judgment, man.
Well,
no judgment.
For having me on.
Heath Riles, thank you so much for being on, man. I appreciate you. Can't wait to hang out, pal.
Hey, thank you, bud. We'll see you down the road.
All right.